Hi, welcome to this video. Here we are again. So here at the beginning, before we go off into talking about asking for help, I want to invite you to take a moment to settle into that place you carry with you always, that internal home base that holds within it the steadiness that is never disturbed and the deep, abiding quiet that also is never disturbed and that offers a place of refuge. A lot of us have really busy lives, and this is a place you can just come to for a moment to settle in and just rest for a bit. One of the ways you can arrive to this internal home base is just to follow an out breath all the way down to the bottom. And it will usually naturally take you to that place that is your internal home base. It's your place of core presence. And it is absolutely a place of refuge. So just take a moment to feel into that now, constantly familiarizing yourself with this amazing resource you carry with you all the time. It's there every moment. And in a busy day, it might actually be very useful for your body, for your psyche, to just from time to time take a breath, drop down, and take a moment or two just being in your own presence. It can also be pretty delicious to touch into that steadiness and certainly that deep quiet if you need a little bit of a breather. So this time I'd like to talk about asking for help. I don't mean asking for help from a neighbor or a family member or someone on the street. I mean asking for help from the wide array of resources that exist in the non-visible realms, in the unseen, that is still part of our everyday lives. I'm a great fan of asking for help. The thing I want to remind you about that I talked about in another video is when you are reaching out for intuitive input, which help can be, because it's not probably not going to be offered to you in an overt, concrete way. To remember that it's really important to be receptive and to avoid getting caught up in trying to figure out, trying to understand, trying to do anything. Instead, just being willing to receive. I have a crazy story from Central Park West again. There's another thing that happened in Central Park West. And this is not so much asking for help, but it's about listening and paying attention. I was walking to my office one day and I passed a tree. I was going a different way. So I passed a tree I didn't really know. And I heard the words in my head, "Give me a hug." And I thought, oh, Nancy, you are such a nut job. And I kept walking. And again, that statement came flying at me. So I very, very obediently went back and gave the tree a hug and made that part of my morning routine from then on, because it was now the new way I was walking to work. And people could say I'm crazy. No, the tree did not say to you, "Give me a hug," but actually it did. It really did. So one day when I was here in my apartment, busy, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4 Mingoralia trees in my apartment. With cats, those are the only plants I could keep of all my plants that aren't toxic. So I have the 4 trees. The cats and the trees have worked out their relationship together. And one day I was walking out of my bedroom, and one of the trees said to me as I walked by, "You forgot to water me." And I thought, that's right. I did. I forgot to water the plants that morning. Now, some people would say that was your own unconscious telling you. Might have been, but it was right. And then I went and watered the plants. So that's more about receiving and not pushing away what comes in. In asking for help, many years ago when I lived in California, I had a cat who was kind of a quirky being. She had just the weirdest, quirkiest things go on with her body, and her personality was very different. And in the tradition I was raised in, I mentioned in another video the word deva. And in the tradition I was raised in, devas are beings who have to do with organizing, kind of like architects around form. The nature spirits are sort of the workers, and the devas are sort of the ensouling intelligence or spirits of different beings, different life forms. So this quirky cat, she had really wacky allergies. She had all kinds of physical things. So at one point, this allergy of hers got really bad. She was really snorting and sneezing and coughing and doing all kinds of stuff. So I asked the cat deva, I often ask the cat deva for input about the animals. I never see it again. I'm not one of those people who sees or perceives multidimensionally with any clarity. But I asked the cat deva, what can I do to help this sudden onset of intense allergy? And then I let it go. By the way, that's the other piece. Ask a question and then let it go. Don't try to get an answer. And as I was walking across the living room floor, the thought dropped in, you have to get rid of the new floor pillow. Someone had given me a wonderful, huge pillow for the floor within a couple of weeks, maybe a week before, or something in that range. And I thought, what? You have to get rid of the pillow on the floor. I got rid of it because I know to pay attention to input that comes in like that. And within a relatively short period of time, her allergy completely cleared. So I thought, oh, asking for help can be actually very useful. As a clinician in my everyday life, I specialize in treating trauma. So there are many times I'm sitting with clients and I have no idea what's going to be helpful for them in that particular moment. And so it's at those times, I just, as I always say to colleagues, I throw it up a level and I say, okay, I need help. I need guidance here. I do not know what to do. But again, I say that and then I let it go. I don't try to see what's coming, to figure it out, to understand what the answer will be. I just wait. And almost inevitably, something then arises either in me or the client that fills in that place I couldn't figure out what to do with. So I want to encourage you to think about, if you're not already doing this, a lot of you might already be people who ask for help. If you're not already doing this, think about how would it be to be able to ask for help or guidance and then let it go and see what comes. My usual rhythm these days is, if I have a question About the cats, I don't know what to do. One night, and I don't remember the solution, or I would share it with you, but one night I had to give medication, I think, to one of the cats, and I thought, ooh, this is going to be really, really a challenge. And when I was going to bed, I said, I need some input about how best to deal with this situation with this particular cat. But just as I'm saying about any asking for help, the minute I say that, I'm not going to think about it again. I'm just going to go to sleep. It's not like I'm going to take time wondering, thinking, reaching out, trying to imagine. I'm just sending the request, and then I go to sleep. And almost always, and that morning, the same thing, almost always I wake up in the morning with some idea floating around in my head that solves the issue or gives me the answer. So I guess the bottom line here really is, again, and I've said this probably in a couple of videos, how to be openly receptive, to be willing not to know. I think that's really a big piece, is to be willing not to know, to be willing not to feel like you have to figure it out, but instead to be willing to receive. And when you receive, to be willing to act on it if it feels reasonable, or not if it just feels wrong to you. You know, we never let go of discernment, never letting go of the need to discern, is this a useful, helpful, and constructive input, or is this just part of some fantasy I carry around all the time? And you're not going to possibly know right away. And this refers back to the video I did on intuition, that it's helpful if you write these things down and then see what happens. But I literally ask for help all the time, or input. I'm asking for help or input all the time. If I have something I need to write, or if I have a talk I need to give, I ask for input about that. That if I'm feeling stuck and I can't quite get hold of what I want to say, I ask for help. Now, maybe I'm asking my own unconscious for help. I'm not really picky about what the source is of a response. It's fine with me if it's my own unconscious. It's fine with me if I'm accessing human collective consciousness and drawing from that. Or when I talked in one video a while back about my grandmother's teaching about the rain cloud of knowable things that are raining down on everyone all the time with all the information there is. I'm not picky about where it comes from. I just hold the idea that the request for help probably sends an intention out there into our more quantum-y field of possibility, and then links with what will respond in a way that matches what I'm asking. I don't know. I wouldn't even begin to try to describe where I think this stuff comes from. For me, I draw on my upbringing and the paradigms I was given as a kid, which were around multidimensionality. So that's just kind of my normal way of thinking of it. But I would invite you to ask within a context of whatever makes sense to you about where do we find collective or expansive wisdom that we can draw on, that we can call to us through our request for help and support. So that's about it for now, just to underscore it's really useful to ask for help. but it requires being openly receptive and willing not to have to know ahead of time and not to have to figure it out, but really to receive and then bring discernment for how you respond. And so for now, that's it till next time. Take good care. Bye for now.